The Titan had no name anymore. Once, long ago, the galaxy had called him the Eternal, the Last Guardian, the Shield of 1,000 worlds. But names need someone to speak them, and no one had spoken his name in 10,000 years. He drifted alone in the cold space between stars, his massive body curled like a sleeping mountain. His form was strange to most beings. He was made of living stone and ancient metal, grown together over millions of years. His eyes, each one larger than a small moon, had been closed for so long that dust from passing comets had gathered on his face. His arms, 4 of them, were folded against his chest. His tail, long and covered in crystal formations, floated behind him like a forgotten flag. Was old. He was old when the first intelligent species learned to make fire. He was old when empires rose and fell across the galaxy. He had watched civilizations build great cities among the stars, and he had watched those same civilizations turn to dust. In his youth, he had been a protector. His kind, the Titans, were created by beings so ancient that even did not know their names. The Titans were made to guard life, to protect the young species as they grew, to fight against the darkness that sometimes crept between the stars. But that was long ago. The other Titans were gone now, destroyed in wars that no one remembered or simply fading away when there was nothing left to protect. Was the last one, and even he had been forgotten. He remembered the day it happened. The Galactic Council, the great gathering of all intelligent species, had met to discuss the Titans. They had decided that Titans were no longer needed. The galaxy was at peace. The old threats were gone. Why waste resources caring for these ancient creatures? One by one, the species stopped visiting. They stopped bringing him the rare minerals he needed to stay strong. They stopped asking for his protection. They stopped saying his name. At first, tried to help anyway. He would find young worlds and watch over them. But the species on those worlds would grow afraid of him. They would see his massive form blocking out their sun and send weapons against him. They did not know he was trying to help. They only saw a monster. So stopped trying. He found a quiet place in the empty space between galaxies and he went asleep. He hoped that maybe, if he slept long enough, he would simply stop existing. It seemed better than being alone forever. 10,000 years passed. Then something small bumped against his shoulder. His eyes opened slowly. The dust that had gathered on his face drifted away in clouds. His ancient heart, which had slowed to almost nothing, began to beat faster. There, floating near his shoulder, was a tiny metal object. It was smaller than one of his fingers. It had strange markings on its side and a golden disc attached to it. Had seen many things in his long life, but he had never seen anything like this. The object was clearly made by intelligent beings, but it was so primitive. It used simple chemical rockets. It had no shields, no weapons, no faster-than-light drive. He carefully reached out with one massive finger and gently stopped the object from drifting away. He brought it close to one of his eyes and studied it. The markings on the side said Voyager 1 in a language he did not recognize. But Titans had the gift of understanding all languages, given to them by their creators. After a moment, the meaning became clear. This was a message, a greeting. A species on a small world had sent this tiny object into the darkness, hoping that someone would find it. The golden disc was a gift. It contained sounds and images from their world, music, greetings in many languages, pictures of their planet, their families, their hopes. Listen to the music. It was strange and simple compared to the great symphonies of the elder races, but there was something in it that made his ancient heart ache. There was hope in that music. There was a species that looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. They were asking if anyone was out there. For the first time in 10,000 years, wanted to answer. He looked in the direction the tiny object had come from. It had traveled for a very long time, but could trace its path back to its source. A small yellow star, a system with several planets. The third planet from the star was covered in blue water and green land. Uncurled his massive body for the first time in. His joints were stiff and his movements were slow, but he did not care. Someone had called out into the darkness, and he was going to answer. He began to move toward the small yellow star. It took him many years to reach the system. He was weak from his long sleep and he could not move as fast as he once had, but he was patient. He had waited 10,000 years. He could wait a little longer. As he grew closer, he began to detect signals from the third planet, radio waves carrying voices and music and strange moving pictures. The species there called themselves humans, and they were very young. They had only just learned to leave their own world. They had sent a few brave souls to their moon and were dreaming of going further. Was careful as he entered their system. He did not want to frighten them. He knew how other species had reacted to him in the past, but he was also curious. What kind of species would send such a hopeful message into the void? He positioned himself near the edge of their system, far from their planet but close enough to watch. He would observe them first, he decided. He would learn about them before making contact. But humans, he would soon learn, were very different from any species he had ever met. The humans found him first. Had been watching their world for only a few of their years when he detected a small ship approaching his position. It was crude compared to the vessels of the elder races, made of simple metals and powered by controlled explosions. But it was heading directly toward him with clear purpose. He was surprised. He had hidden himself carefully, or so he thought. His body looked like a strange asteroid to most scanners, but somehow the humans had found him. The ship stopped at a safe distance, and then it sent a message. It was in the same language as the markings on the Voyager probe. "Unknown object," the message said. "We mean you no harm. We have detected unusual energy patterns from your location. We are a scientific expedition from Earth. If you are capable of communication, please respond." Stared at the tiny ship. Scientific expedition. They had come to study him, not to attack him or drive him away, but to understand him. He thought for a long moment. He had been alone for so long. The last time he had tried to make contact with a species, they had shot at him with nuclear weapons. He still carried the scars. But these humans had sent a message of peace into the darkness. They had included music and greetings on a golden disc. They had hoped someone would find it. Perhaps they were different. Opened his eyes fully for the first time since waking. The light from them was soft and golden, like the light from their star. He moved one of his arms in a slow, careful gesture of greeting. The reaction from the human ship was immediate. He could hear their excited voices through their radio transmissions. They were not afraid. They were amazed. "It moved. Did you see that? It's alive." "Contact, we have first contact." "Everyone stay calm. Remember your training." Found himself making a sound he had not made in 10,000 years. He was laughing. These tiny creatures in their fragile little ship were trying to stay calm while floating in front of a being the size of their moon. He decided to help them. He reached out with his mind, a gift all Titans possessed, and gently touched the communication systems of their ship. He did not enter their minds or take control of anything. He simply made it possible for them to understand his words. "I greet you, small ones," he said. His voice was deep and slow, like rocks grinding together. "I am called. I am the last of the Titans. I found your message in the void and I came to answer." There was silence from the ship for a long moment. Then a voice, shaking with emotion, replied. "Hello, my name is Dr. Sarah. On behalf of the people of Earth, we welcome you." That was the beginning. Over the following years, learned about the humans. They were indeed very young, one of the youngest intelligent species he had ever encountered. They had only been spacefaring for less than a century. They still fought wars among themselves. They still damaged their own world with pollution and greed. But they were also kind. They were curious. They looked at the stars with wonder instead of fear. When told them he was hungry, that he had not eaten in 10,000 years, they did not turn away. Instead, they asked what he needed. He explained that Titans fed on rare minerals, certain metals and crystals that could only be found deep in asteroids and dead moons. The humans organized a massive effort to gather these minerals for him. Thousands of ships from many countries worked together to find what he needed. They called it the Titan Project, and people from all over their world volunteered to help. Did not understand at first. "Why do you do this?" he asked Doctor during one of their many conversations. "I have nothing to offer you. I am old and weak. The Galactic Council decided long ago that Titans are worthless." Doctor smiled. She was old now, her hair white and her face lined with wrinkles. She had spent her entire career learning about and teaching others about him. She said, "We're not helping you because you're useful. We're helping you because you're alive and you need help. That's what we do. Maybe not always and maybe not perfectly, but we try." "The Galactic Council does not think this way," said. "They measure everything by its usefulness. When something no longer serves a purpose, they throw it away." "Then the Galactic Council is wrong," Doctor said simply. Thought about this for a long time. The minerals the humans brought him made him stronger. He could move more easily now and his thoughts were clearer. He began to remember things he had forgotten during his long sleep. He remembered his purpose. He remembered his power. He also began to watch the humans more closely. He saw how they cared for their sick and their elderly. He saw how they built homes for those who had none. He saw how they rushed to help when disasters struck, even helping people in countries they had fought wars with. They were not perfect. They made mistakes. Sometimes they were cruel or selfish, but there was something in them that the elder races had lost. The humans had not been in the galaxy long enough to become cold and calculating. They still had hearts. "You remind me of my creators," told Doctor one day. It was the last conversation they would have. She was very old now and very sick. "The ones who made the Titans?" she asked weakly. "Yes, they were like you. They believed that life was precious, that every being deserved protection and care. That is why they made us, to protect, to serve, to love." Doctor reached out and touched his finger, which was larger than her entire body. "Then you were made by good people." "I believe I have finally found their children," said. Doctor smiled and closed her eyes. She died the next day, but her work continued. New scientists took her place, young people who had grown up knowing that humanity was not alone. They had watched grow stronger. They had learned that the galaxy was full of other species, other civilizations, other wonders. And they had learned that not all of those species were friendly. The warships arrived without warning. "Sense them first." His ancient eyes could see across vast distances of space, and he recognized the energy signatures of their weapons. They were one of the elder races, cold and logical and utterly without mercy. They had been expanding their empire for millions of years, taking whatever worlds they wanted and destroying any species that stood in their way. They had ignored Earth before because humans were so primitive, but now humans were growing. They had colonies on their moon and on the red planet called Mars. They were building ships that could travel between stars. They were becoming a threat. They had come to end that threat before it could grow. There were 50 warships in their fleet, each one large enough to destroy a small planet. They moved through space like sharks moving through water, silent and deadly. "Move to intercept them." "What are you doing?" The voice belonged to Admiral James Torres, the human who now led the Earth Defense Force. "Our satellites are showing you moving toward the unknown ships." "They are called," replied. "They are an elder race. They have come to destroy your species." There was silence on the communication channel for a moment. Then Torres spoke again, his voice steady despite what he had just been told. "What can we do?" "Nothing. Your weapons cannot hurt them. Your ships cannot match their speed. If they reach your world, everyone will die. Then what do we do? Tors asked again. There was fear in his voice now, but also determination. You do nothing, said. I will handle this. He accelerated toward the fleet. His massive body moved faster than it had in thousands of years, powered by the minerals the humans had given him and by something else, something he had thought he had lost forever. Purpose. They saw him coming. Their scanners identified him immediately. Titan detected, class, Guardian designation, status believed destroyed, current status active. The commander, a cold being with gray skin and calculating eyes, studied the data on his screen. A Titan. I thought they were all dead. This one appears to have survived, his second officer said. It is moving to intercept us. It is one creature against 50 warships. It is weak from lack of resources. This will not be a problem. The commander was wrong. Hit the fleet like a storm hitting a forest. His massive arms swept through their formation, crushing ships like they were made of paper. His tail, covered in sharp crystals, tore through their shields and armor. His eyes, which had once been gentle and gold, now burned with white fire. He was a Titan. He had been created to protect life, and these creatures were threatening the species that had shown him kindness. They fought back. They fired their weapons at him, beams of energy and missiles and things that had no names in human languages. Some of them hit him. They burned his stone flesh and cracked his metal bones, but did not stop. He had forgotten how strong he was. He had spent so long sleeping, so long hiding from a galaxy that had rejected him, that he had forgotten what he was capable of. But the humans had reminded him. Their kindness had reminded him of why the Titans were created. Not to be useful, but to protect those who could not protect themselves. The battle lasted for 3 hours. When it was over, 47 warships were destroyed. 3 managed to escape, jumping to faster-than-light travel before could catch them. Floated among the wreckage, his massive body covered in burns and wounds. He was badly hurt, but he was alive, and more importantly, Earth was safe. Admiral Tor's voice came through the communication channel. It was shaking. Are you okay? What happened? The threat has been ended, said. His voice was weaker now, tired from the battle. Your world is safe. You saved us, Tor said. You saved all of us, 8 billion people. You saved every single one of them. I am a Titan, said simply. This is what I was made for. But even as he said it, he knew that was not the whole truth. He had protected other species before, long ago, but he had never felt like this. He had never felt this warmth in his ancient heart. The humans had given him something no other species had ever given him. They had given him a family. The news of battle spread across Earth within hours. People who had never believed in aliens, people who had thought the Titan project was a waste of money, people who had laughed at the idea of a giant space creature, they all watched the recordings of the battle with wide eyes. Had fought for them. This ancient being, this creature they had fed and cared for, had put himself between them and certain death. The response was immediate. Ships were launched carrying more minerals than had ever seen. Medical teams worked to understand his biology so they could help heal his wounds. Messages of thanks and love poured in from every country, every language, every culture on Earth. You are not alone, the messages said. You are one of us now. Floating in space, as human ships gathered around him like tiny protective insects, felt something wet on his face. It took him a moment to understand what it was. He was crying. For the first time in 10,000 years, the last Titan was crying. Word of the battle spread beyond Earth. The Galactic Council learned that a Titan still existed. They learned that it had destroyed a fleet with ease. They learned that it had been living among a primitive species called humans. They were not happy. This is unacceptable, said the representative at the emergency council meeting. His species was furious about the loss of their fleet. The humans are harboring a dangerous weapon. They must be punished. The Titan attacked without provocation, agreed the representative from another elder race. It must be destroyed. And the humans must be contained, added the voice of the collective, a species of linked minds. They are clearly more dangerous than we realized. The council debated for many hours. In the end, they reached a decision. The humans would be given a choice. They could hand over the Titan for termination, or they would face the combined military might of the entire Galactic Council. A messenger ship was sent to Earth to deliver this ultimatum. Heard the message at the same time as the human leaders. He was still recovering from his wounds, floating near Earth's moon while human scientists worked to help him heal. His body was covered in bandages made from special materials the humans had developed just for him. "You should give me to them," he told Admiral Tors. "If you refuse, they will destroy your world. I am not worth the lives of your entire species." Tors looked at the ancient Titan with an expression did not understand. "We had a meeting," Tors said. "All the leaders of Earth, we talked about it for a long time." "And what did you decide?" "We told them no." Stared at the human. "You refused. You understand what this means. The entire Galactic Council will come for you." "We understand," Tors said. "We understand perfectly, but you're one of us now. We don't give up our own people, not ever." "I am not human," said. "I am not even from this galaxy. You have known me for less than a century. Why would you risk everything for me?" Tors smiled, but there were tears in his eyes. "Because that's who we are. Maybe we're not the species in the galaxy. Maybe we're not the strongest or the most advanced, but we have something the elder races have forgotten. We have loyalty. We have love. When someone becomes family, we don't abandon them no matter what." Was silent for a long time. His ancient mind struggled to process what he was hearing. In all his millions of years of existence, no one had ever said anything like this to him. "You will lose," he finally said. "The Council has weapons you cannot imagine, ships you cannot fight, technologies you do not understand." "Maybe," Tors admitted, "but we'll go down fighting, and you won't go down alone." The next few months were busy ones on Earth. Every factory that could be converted to military production was converted. Every scientist worked on new weapons and shields. Every able-bodied person trained to fight. They knew they could not win. The Galactic Council had been building their power for millions of years. Humans had only been in space for a little over a century. The difference in power was like the difference between an ant and a mountain. But they prepared anyway. Watched them with growing amazement. He had seen many species face extinction before. Most of them broke apart at the end, fighting among themselves or falling into despair. But the humans came together. Old enemies became allies. Old hatreds were put aside. For the first time in their history, humanity was truly united. And they were united because of him. "I do not understand you," told Tors during one of their conversations. "I truly do not. Every logical analysis says you should surrender. Every calculation shows that resistance is pointless. Why do you still fight?" Tors laughed, but it was not a mocking laugh. It was warm and sad at the same time. "You know, we've been asking ourselves that question for our entire history. We fight wars we can't win. We stand up against bullies even when we know we'll get hurt. We hope for things that logic says are impossible." "Why?" Tors was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because we believe in something. We believe that some things are worth fighting for, even if we lose. We believe that standing up for what's right matters, even if no one else stands with us. We believe that love is stronger than fear, and that kindness is more powerful than cruelty." "These are not logical beliefs," said. "No," Tors agreed. "They're not, but they're true, and that's enough for us." The Council fleet arrived 3 months later. Over 5,000 warships from 20 different species, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. They surrounded the Sol system like a noose around a neck. The Council demanded one final time that the humans surrender the Titan. The human response was broadcast to every ship in the fleet. "This is Admiral James Torres of the Earth Defense Force. We have received your demand and we have considered it carefully. Our answer is no. Is a citizen of Earth. He is under our protection. If you want him, you'll have to come through us." There was a pause. Then Torres added in a voice that carried across the stars, "And one more thing, we're not afraid of you." The battle began, moved first. Despite his wounds, despite the damage he had taken in the battle against he launched himself at the Council fleet with all the strength he had left. He was not trying to win. He knew that was impossible. He was trying to buy time. Time for the humans to evacuate their children to underground bunkers. Time for their ships to take up defensive positions. Time for one last stand. The Council fleet fired on him with weapons that could crack planets. He felt the impacts like fire spreading through his body. His stone flesh cracked. His metal bones bent. But he did not stop. He destroyed ship after ship, crushing them with his massive arms or tearing them apart with his crystal tail. He was a Titan in his full fury, a creature of ancient power that the galaxy had forgotten. And then something unexpected happened. As fought alone against the thousands of ships, he heard a voice, then another, then thousands. The humans were singing. Every radio frequency, every communication channel, every broadcast from Earth was carrying the same thing. Billions of human voices, raised together in song. They were singing an old song, a song about never giving up, about standing together, about hope. Did not understand the words at first, but as he listened, as he fought and bled and refused to fall, the meaning became clear. They were singing for him. 8 billion voices, raised together, telling him that he was not alone, that he was loved, that he was worth fighting for. Something broke inside. Something that had been hard and cold for 10,000 years suddenly shattered. He screamed. It was not a scream of pain or fear. It was something else entirely. It was a sound that the galaxy had not heard in millions of years, since the first Titans were created by beings who believed in love and protection. It was the battle cry of the Titans. The sound wave that erupted from his mouth was not just sound. It was power, pure, ancient power that the Titans' creators had placed inside them for moments exactly like this. Power that could only be unleashed when a Titan found something worth protecting, something worth dying for. The wave hit the Council fleet like a tsunami hitting a beach. Ships were thrown backward, shields collapsed, weapons failed. And then the light came. His body began to glow. Every crack in his stone flesh, every wound and burn began to shine with golden light. The same light that had been on the Voyager probe. The same light that was in human smiles and human tears and human songs. He was transforming. The minerals the humans had given him, the care they had shown him, the love they had demonstrated by refusing to surrender him, it had all been feeding something inside him, something that had been dormant since his creation. The final gift of his creators, hidden inside every Titan, waiting for the moment when it would be needed most. He grew larger, his wounds healed, his power increased 100-fold, 1,000-fold more. The Council fleet tried to flee. They were not fast enough. Spoke, and his voice was no longer just his own. It was the voice of all the Titans who had come before him, all of them speaking through him, lending him their strength, their power, their love. "You threatened my family." The words echoed across the entire star system. Every being in every ship heard them, felt them vibrate in their bones. The Titans were created to protect life. The Titans do not forget. The Titans do not forgive. What happened next was not a battle, it was a judgment. When it was over, the Council fleet was gone. Not destroyed, but removed. Every ship had been teleported to their home worlds, stripped of their weapons, their engines disabled. They would be stranded for years, decades, maybe centuries. They would have time to think about what they had done. Floated in the space where the fleet had been, his massive body still glowing with golden light. He was larger now, larger than he had ever been. His wounds were all healed. His power was greater than it had been since the day of his creation. But more than that, he was no longer alone. Admiral Tor's voice came through the communication channel. It was shaking, but with joy this time, not fear. "Is that you? What happened?" Smiled. It was the first time he had ever smiled. "I remembered what I am," he said. "I am a Titan. I was created to protect life, and you, my dear small ones, reminded me why that matters." "So we're safe?" Tors asked. "You are more than safe. The Council will never threaten you again. I will make sure of that." There was cheering on the other end of the communication. Could hear it spreading across Earth, across the moon base, across Mars. Billions of voices raised in celebration. They had won. Somehow, impossibly, they had won. But the celebration was not just about victory. It was about something more important. A year later was given a ceremony. Every nation on Earth participated. They gave him a new name, one that would be spoken for as long as humanity existed. They called him Guardian of Earth, Brother of Humanity. He accepted the name with tears in his ancient eyes. "I spent 10,000 years alone," he said in his speech to the billions watching. "I thought I had no purpose. I thought I was forgotten. But you found me. You fed me. You fought for me. You sang for me. You reminded me that love is real, that kindness matters, that family is not about blood or species or age." He looked at the tiny humans gathered below him, their faces upturned, their eyes full of love. "I am a Titan," he continued. "I was created millions of years ago by beings who believed in protecting life. Those beings are gone now, but their children live on. I found them here on a small blue world circling a small yellow star. They are young and foolish and they make many mistakes, but they love with their whole hearts and they never give up and they never abandon their own." He spread his 4 massive arms wide, embracing the entire planet in a gesture of protection. "I will guard this world until the end of time. I will protect these people against any threat, not because I have to, not because it is my purpose, but because I love them, because they are my family, because they gave me something I thought I had lost forever." He looked up at the stars, at the vast galaxy that had once forgotten him. "They gave me hope." The crowd erupted in cheers. The sound rose up from Earth and spread across the solar system. It reached the distant observation posts of the elder races, who watched with a mixture of fear and wonder. Humanity had done something no other species had ever done. They had awakened the last Titan. They had given him something to fight for. They had created an alliance that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. And it had all started with a tiny golden disk sent into the darkness by a species that looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. They were not alone. They never had been. And now they never would be again.